Here we are at the end of 2020, which will forever be remembered for the virus that changed the world. It's incredible to think, isn't it, that it was less than 12 months ago that we first started hearing about a mysterious outbreak in China. Before long, though, there were concerns that our hospital beds and intensive care units would be overwhelmed as the disease quickly spread to Australia. It led to more than 900 deaths and 27,000 infections. But elsewhere in the world, COVID-19 has proved far more devastating, with more than 1 million deaths and 50 million infected globally. And those are just the official figures. The real numbers are likely to be much higher.
It's been tough raising a toddler who effectively has spent half their life in lockdown.
Every time you heard something was going to change, it's a new plan. Next week we're going to open the borders, new plan again.
With me being out of work, that's probably the biggest effect is, having to find a way to get back into the workforce.
I think mental health is definitely one of the top issues that the international students are facing.
The virus most likely entered Australia on a plane. On the 20th of March, the federal government took the unprecedented step of closing our international borders, and state governments soon did the same with the interstate borders, leaving many of our airports almost completely deserted. What all this meant is that we had an economy in limbo, millions of people out of a job or working from home, and students doing classes in their lounge rooms. Not to mention the families and communities that were split up, the funerals that were missed, weddings cancelled. Back at the start of the year, it would have been difficult to imagine just how bad things would get in Victoria. 6 months ago, we met a group of Aussies who were readjusting. And now, as scientists close in on a vaccine, we go back to find out how people are handling the new normal.
I was a flight attendant. My professional life came crashing down. I actually worked for Virgin, so not only did we have the pandemic, we also went into administration. We've got no family in Melbourne. My husband's family are all in Scotland, and my family's between Sydney and Adelaide. So we are alone as such when it comes to being able to see family. It's been tough raising a toddler who effectively has spent half her life in lockdown. Daddy. It also became quite a mental struggle when you went out to start to avoid parks. It's very hard if you're out and you see another child, and how do you keep your child away from wanting to be normal? I live near a train line, and one of my daughter's favourite things is just watch trains go past. It's very, very sad that you can actually count the people on the trains. We never get past 5. The first week of the lockdown, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to make this virus my bitch, and I'm going to make it really work for me. It may sound simple, walking 10,000 steps, but when you are only allowed out of the house for 2 hours a day, it is actually quite difficult. So, I ended up doing a few laps around my backyard at night, because if it got to 7:45, I knew that come 8 o'clock, I couldn't leave the house. No matter what you're doing, as soon as you leave the house, you have to wear a mask.
Daddy! Teddy's got a mask on. And what about baby? Does baby need to wear a mask?
She's not scared of them, which I guess is a good thing, and we practiced on her Teddy just to make it kind of normal. But you can't see anyone smile. It's not a nice feeling. It's not a nice place to be. There is a fear. There is a fear that if you step out of line, you're going to be fined. We're in this together, but I actually feel we've never been further apart. The police presence has been incredible. I'm used to hearing aeroplanes in the sky, but there obviously isn't any at the moment. But the police helicopters, especially over the weekends, it's not a nice feeling at all. Wine? I don't know if I can say that. The first lockdown was quite, not exciting, but this was different. And, this surely can't last as long. And, I ate very well and we drank very well. And this time around, you're like, well, I'm not quite sure how long it's going to last for. It's no longer the city that I moved to and that I fell in love with. It's driven a lot of people away. We actually made the decision last week to move to Sydney. I can see unemployment being extremely high in Melbourne. I'm part of that now, so potentially for me to find work, I feel that I need to leave the state. We've lived through it and we are going to live through it, and it is going to be all okay, and it is going to be okay.
Well, I'm Madge Fleming from Denmark in Western Australia.
And I'm Jez Fleming, I'm Madge's husband.
On the fourth day, the expedition leader announced that there was a passenger with coronavirus on board.
And all of these things, when you thought back on it, I said, that is when I was getting the disease. When I looked at that, it sort of tugged at the heart a bit, because I felt, well, that did happen.
We learned a lot about ourselves and about how well we coped in difficult situations, that it gave us kind of a good feeling about life and about the friendships that we'd made on the ship and about the people that we travelled with, who made it a very special experience in their comradeship.
When you see what's happened with coronavirus all over the world, I think we're more appreciative today that we were very, very fortunate.
What we realise is that we were very lucky to have dodged a bullet.
We are living in this sort of bubble here. Everything is fine. We've got total freedom. I do my bird watching. I get involved in everything in Denmark here that I've always been involved in. Life is going on, but we could be like Victoria. We could have a bit of a turnaround, in which case everything will change. So there's a certain amount of apprehension, but I'm just hopeful that in 6 months' time things will improve overseas in the UK and in America and South America.
We have a son in Edinburgh. We haven't been able to see him or his wife and children for 15 months, and there looks like there's no end to that. If there is a vaccine and if the world opens up a little bit, we are looking forward to maybe going to see our friends in New Zealand, and then further on, maybe a trip to the UK.
We're due to go back on the same ship in October of next year, that's 2021, and we're really looking forward to that. I think we're positive people, and I think you've got to look to the positive side of life. I'm always telling people that the glass has got to be half full, not half empty, and if you got that sort of attitude, you can get through everything.
Hello, I'm Jacques from the Billabong Roadhouse. We probably had a good 97% drop in turnover. Obviously, people aren't on the street, so it's been massive. Since the lockdown and the reopening, the highway went pretty mad. I don't think anybody on the West Coast knew what was coming, but everybody benefited from it. And now it's slowed down slightly coming into the summer, and we're waiting to see what happens when the borders reopen. The initial was huge. It was a massive run. At its busiest period, you probably had, 30, 40, 50 cars all piled up here ready to get fuel, if not another 20 over the road. It was just chaos, absolute chaos, but everyone was very patient. We were running an 8-man operation on 4 to 5 people. Short-term effect, I think definitely you'd be more aware that you can be in a situation where your business can be shut. Long-term, I think it brought out a lot of true colours out of people, suppliers, people that you know, and that's a lesson in itself. Probably when they were looking at reopening borders or relaxing the restrictions. And you can kick and scream all you want, but all we did was go, okay, well, this is what we've got to do, so put a new plan together. Every time you heard something was going to change, it's a new plan. Next week we're going to open the borders, new plan again. So that's how it is. Flexibility, definitely. I think if you're not flexible through periods like this, then you're really going to be struggling, and be able to take the highs and the lows, and probably learn a bit more about people. Since our last interview, we had people that had sent through emails wanting to buy virtual coffees and virtual accommodation, and we were like, oh, that's really, really nice, and we didn't actually know what to say. And we said, look, it's fine, we're okay. But they were happy to do that and help us through some hard times, and you don't forget those people. Life in 6 months is anybody's guess, really, honestly. It's anybody's guess, it really will be. We've got a great chef here, so we've got no problems at all. We're just really trying to keep ourselves in steady pace so we don't burn out.
My name's Julie. I run Little Jen's Family Daycare from home, and this is the environment that we work and live in.
Hi, I'm Gemma. I'm Julie's daughter.
In 6 months, it'd be nice to have our wages back and be sending back to a normal life. I'm going fishing.
Yeah, I'm going with her.
Yeah.
Well, we made it.
Changed in 4 months. Yeah. I'm going fishing in 3 weeks, so that's exciting.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going with her though.
Yeah.
Things have are slowly getting back to normal. I'm full. My parents' shifts have changed back to normal, most of them. So I'm not up at 4:30 every morning, and I'm not working till 7 o'clock every night.
I know.
Definitely the financial. Lucky that I did get JobKeeper, and that did help. But I suppose just routine for me was a little bit tricky. I like routine, and with COVID things were just a little bit all over the place, and didn't know really what was going on from one day to the next.
We have been inundated with calls. I get 2 to 3 calls a week, and some parents will find out what daycare fees are, even with the government assistance, and it still doesn't add up,
Yeah.
So a lot of people just can't go back to work.
Especially one-income households, it probably has been hard for those that have lost their jobs being on one income. For the mum to maybe be able to go back to work, it would definitely help people get ahead.
Well, hopefully, yeah, she's won lotto and she's sitting in a mansion somewhere, and I would ask her, is she enjoying life?
Well, you're going to take me in if I win lotto?
Hi, my name is Shania Cross. I just recently finished Year 12.
Year 12 is your last year and you just want to get everything done. And at home, you might think that you're behind on work and you're not going to finish and you're going to become last and you just don't know.
Going back to the video and just watching it over again, it's just emotional. I don't know, I just feel like I did it. Mum, she's that person who's always there for you and will pick you up when you need help. She's always pushed me to do my best. She's just a good mum. When I first went back, it was hard because I thought it would have been way different and harder, but it was actually easy, the students and your teacher to help you through the work, so it was way better in class. I didn't want to get COVID, no one does. But now, I feel more relaxed about it, I'm not stressing out and it feels like things are normal, back to normal again.
In the middle of March, I was stood down from my position of manager at a local travel agency here. I was 7 months pregnant at the time, so pretty much just had to take it as early maternity leave. Then in the middle of May, we had little Charlie come along. 6 months' time, I think it will be a bit better, but I don't think we'll be completely back to normal by then. I do believe that this is going to take a little while for our lives to get back. I think I wasn't too far off the mark, actually, that it was going to be a bit better, but not completely done. I wouldn't say emotional. I think when I felt anxious was when everything started to kick off back in Victoria, again when the second wave hit and it started to creep back into Sydney. I was anxious because Matt was back at work at that stage, so he would be then, in touch with a lot of people. So it was more of if this second wave really comes, how are we going to keep safe? With me being out of work, that's probably the biggest effect is, having to find a way to get back into the workforce and probably have to retrain, reskill because no one needs a travel agent right now. Long term, I think it'll just change our mindset a little bit in how we, go to events, have people over, that kind of stuff. It was very lonely up at the hospital with only Matt being able to come. Jack didn't meet his brother until he was 4 days old. So that was definitely different. And it's really only been the last few weeks that Charlie started to meet extended family and friends and things like that. Definitely interactions with friends, catching up with people. That's probably the biggest thing. It's so hard to see someone that you haven't seen for 6 months and not give them a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Yeah, I think that's the thing I miss the most, is just that human connection. I've been able to self-reflect a fair bit. I have had the time to slow down a bit and, just really enjoy life right now. Six months, I hope that it is getting back to normal. Hopefully I will be working, Jack will be at preschool, this one will be in childcare, so hopefully we'll be kind of pretty much back to how we were a year ago.
Hello, my name is Angela. I am a student in University of Adelaide. I'm currently studying Bachelor of Teaching with Maths and Computer Science. I'm in my third year and I'm an international student from China.
I've been pretty much self-isolating in my student accommodation and doing online courses, of course, in Uni Adelaide since everything has been going on so far.
Some of my friends have been stuck in China at the moment, not being able to return.
During the first semester, around June, is when I felt actual anxiety, coping with online studying while going through quarantine and lockdown. I had to apply extension for some of my assignments. I had to take a lot of time off work to rest and to reflect, to make sure I am in my positive mindset. Six months ago, I promised myself to support students more through this difficult time. I am glad to say that I am relatively proud of my achievements, like collaborating with the university for financial support for international students, devising different programs, social programs for international students, and etc. It was a difficult time, but I think we pulled through, and I am very privileged to be in South Australia, where everything went back to normal relatively quickly. For international students, especially first-year students, the hardest part is to make connection. I suppose reach out and know people and have that network. Straight away, they went into online learning. They don't really know people in their classes, and they don't really talk during online lectures. And it's especially hard for those people who might not have a huge social network or support network to pull through this difficult time. Mental health, I think, is one of the biggest issues that international students face, given that there's been a couple of cases in South Australia reported of racism. I think mental health is definitely one of the top issues that the international students are facing. I would say that I feel the most emotional when the Home Affairs announced that the borders won't be open anytime soon, which means that I would not only remain in Australia during this Christmas, I would likely to be remaining in Australia for the entirety of next year as well. I am away from my family for a 2-year time, which is the longest block that I will ever experience. Yeah, I got a bit emotional because I realized that it would be a while since I would see my families face to face again. To be honest, I miss the campus culture because lockdown and online teaching means that students don't have to come to campus to be able to study. And we have seen a huge amount of decrease of foot traffic on campus with students being at home. It's very quiet and it's a bit heartbreaking to see that. I hope with the current trend, Australia would likely return to the new normal where we don't have lockdowns anymore, where we can safely go outside and socialize and have our face-to-face events. I think that coronavirus would relatively die down a bit, but obviously still a potential threat. And I do think that people's life will be changed forever.
Hello, I'm Bethany and I'm here in Dubbo, still at my parents' place.
I lost everything, all of my gigs for this year.
And so I'm here back in the bush with my mum and dad in Dubbo, New South Wales. Well, I just remember so clearly that after the interview, I actually broke down. I'd forgotten just that how quickly things were stripped away and just how uncertain and how scared I was. No wonder I ran home. The emotions is a bit of a cycle. It's like a roller coaster. It just goes up and down. I don't know if I can pinpoint one time, but I feel that the decision to actually stay here in Dubbo was so huge. It felt like a momentous kind of thing that I was almost scared to say out loud. So once I'd actually decided, put your feet down here and actually be regionally based for this period of time, I think that was a huge relief. Identity has been something that has been challenged this year because everything was stripped away. So who am I when my work is gone, when I don't have my friendship group, when I don't have my house, everything that I've built for 15 years in Melbourne? I would say that I'm learning that I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I am an artist, and I'm a storyteller. When I first got home, we were in lockdown and I couldn't see my nephews, and so I wanted to keep in touch with them and I needed to be creative given that I'd just lost everything, and so I turned all my attention to making a little kids web series. Hey Jude, farmer dude, drives a tractor, grows some food, cows. I put it on YouTube and it turns out like all these people shared it and parents who were in lockdown found it really useful because it's all about imaginative play using household objects.
I love what you can come up with when you use one simple tool and one very powerful tool.
I didn't realise, but because it was really clearly set in Dubbo, we filmed it outside in paddocks and things like that. And the roll-on effect from that was that, you know, it was in the paper, it was on the radio, and then people around town were like, oh, and you're home, can you come and work on this project? So opportunities have come from that. I've made a really special connection with a Wiradjuri Kamilaroi elder here in town, Riverbank Frank. He's a bit of a local legend, and he's a writer and a philosopher, and we have this really genuine friendship which is really special. We see each other regularly.
As I look at him too from a long way off, he looks up and he says, mate, so I know we've connected.
We collated stories and shared what it's like to have a friendship like ours. We try and do things that are reconciliation in action, like a yarning circle with me listening to Indigenous elders. We called it Welcomed to Country, the idea that I've come back to country. It just feels like meaningful work here. I'm not just an individual artist, I work in community now. For me, that's been the most unexpected and the most valuable thing about being home during this time. I don't know if I'll still be living with Mum and Dad. Depends how much work I can get and whether I could have my own space here. But I'm actually open to the idea of settling and having my own space here, which is really big. I don't think I'd ever dreamed that that would happen pre-COVID.
Hi, I am a mother of 4 gorgeous girls and a wife and live in Port Lincoln, South Australia. I'm a nurse normally, but currently on maternity leave.
My main concern is whether we relax too much and there being a second wave and what that's going to look like.
I know that our infection control nurse said for a long time she's more worried about flu season because that's when viruses tend to be more. I originally would have said 6 months ago that in 12 months' time, everything will be back to normal and we'd had a vaccine. And I've since listened to a few Dr. Karl podcasts and learned that 95% of vaccines that make it to stage 3 are ineffective, which is a horrifying thought. We might have to face the reality that there's never going to be a vaccine and that the new normal is these social distancing and hand hygiene. We've made the most of exploring our state locally and we've had some really fun family adventures. We've been up the Flinders Ranges and things like the Pitchy Ritchie Railway. We caught that from Corn and it was a really amazing experience to share with the girls. This old train and this old carriage. The carriage itself that we were on was from the Ghan that originally carried soldiers from Adelaide all the way up to Darwin, and it had their names etched in it back in World War II. That really gave us some perspective about what previous generations had endured. We've been a bit naughty, yeah. Some people can't seem to control themselves with the hugging and I can't bring myself to say stop just yet. Yeah, am I going to get a fine? I hope that in 6 months' time I'll be back at work and we won't have had any cases and we will still have social restrictions and social distancing as a standard precaution, and that may be the way of life forever and ever.